Heidi Mulligan Walker, and I'm the founder of The Parenting Difference. I'm a certified parent effectiveness training instructor, and the courses and material that I teach and share are all based on Dr. Thomas Gordon's book, Parent Effectiveness Training, The Proven Program for Raising Responsible Children. The aim of this video series is to share with you some of the skills and the information from Dr. Thomas Gordon's books and enable you to understand a bit more about the relationship dynamics so that when you're handling a situation, you are able to understand exactly what is happening in a given scenario and then use the corresponding skills in order to establish more peaceful relationships within your family and across a number of different situations and with children of all ages. So the series focus for the next couple of weeks is really going to be on back to school, because I really believe, not only do I believe, but I live the fact that back to school is much more than just one day. It is a process, and it's a process for the whole entire family. So whether your kids just started back to school this week or whether they've actually been in now for a couple of weeks, there will be some adjusting that's going on, and chances are, whether you have one child or more, each one of your children is experiencing the new school year in a slightly different way, and that might be presenting some challenges for you. If it's not, fantastic. If it's not, you are in the no problem area and everything is great. But if you are like me, chances are some things are happening elsewhere in the behavior window, and that's what we'd like to talk about today. So what I wanted to talk about today is really the situation of the settling back in and what each of your children might be experiencing and where might it fall in the window. So I have 3 children. I have a 1st grader, Donovan, I have a 5th grader, Cole, and I have an 8th grader, Madison. And each one of them has experienced back to school this year slightly differently. And each one of them has been having, some problems. They've each owned different problems around going back to school. For Madison, the problem has been a whole change in the lunchtime routine, and that this year, for the first time ever, the 8th graders aren't allowed to sit with people across the grade, that they actually have to sit in set groups, and that was something that they'd all really been looking forward to. And I know that she found the first week quite a challenge because she didn't have any of her friends in her kind of special group. And in that situation, Madison owns that. There's a problem that Madison owns, and I know that Madison owns that problem because the feeling trail starts with Madison, in that she gets into the car and she lets me know that she's got a problem because she's been upset by something that's happened in the day, and she shares with me more information about it, and it all comes to light about the change in lunch. And in that situation, I would use some of the helping skills, and particularly the helping skill of listening. Simply listening was really all that was necessary. I didn't need to lecture her about just getting on with it or anything like that, because that's a communication roadblock. And I want to let my children know that they can share anything with me, and that what they are going to get is not a standard response, which is often what happens if you start to lecture or judge or moralize or feel like you need to teach the kids a lesson about how to handle situations. They might stop talking to you because they think, oh, I know what mom's going to say. Mom's going to say, oh, don't worry about it. Of course you'll find someone to have lunch with. And, I really don't want my children to expect a certain response from me. I want my children to know that I am always going to be there to listen and to help. That way they will share with me whatever it is that's going on. And I think that this is extremely important to start it with situations like the back to school, because they get used to how, knowing if they can trust sharing information with you. And especially as the kids get older, we want to know that our children trust us to share lots of different situations with us. Not just frustration over, the lunchroom, but even trickier social situations or even trickier moral dilemmas that they may be facing as they continue to grow up. And all of that listening starts with those simple things. So listening to your kids, whether it's the frustration over lunchroom or whether it's sadness at not having, meeting special friends, whatever the case might be, that listening often starts at that, around the after school time. And the helping skills. So Madison has owned a problem around that, and I was able to help mostly by listening. My fifth grader, Cole, actually had a problem, and his was a little bit more related to some logistics around a new organization method that they've introduced for the fifth graders in anticipation of getting them ready for middle school. And they all have a bucket, and they need to get the things in their bucket. And Cole was really struggling with this. He was having a hard time understanding what goes in the bucket, to the point where he was almost in tears going into school the last day of the first week, because he really didn't understand what to put in the bucket, and he didn't have what he needed when they moved on to the specials classes. And so I knew in that situation, yep, Cole owns this problem, and I'm going to use some of the helping skills. So I listened and I understood what the problem was. But in that scenario, I did need to do something a little bit further in order to help him. And it was appropriate for me to, encourage Cole to speak to the teacher and let her know that he was having this issue, but also for me to get a little bit more involved and update the teacher and email her and just let her know that he was struggling with this, and to ask, so that I had some information, ask where could he find out what goes in the bucket. And I was able to email, and I let Cole know that I would email her and let her know, but also that he needed to also speak to her. And she spoke to him during the day, thanks to my email, and he now knows that he can find the list on the blackboard and that he can check in with her if he has a question about it. So in that situation, I was able to help a little bit more beyond just listening, to actually get a little bit more actively involved because it was appropriate for that scenario. With my first grader, it's been really interesting because the situation that Donovan's got, and again, the feeling trail lets me know that he's got a problem because he hasn't been wanting to go to school in the morning. And when I've been listening and talking to him about this, he's finding first grade harder, and he's worried that he's actually not going to finish work on time. He's worried about trying to follow the rules, and is he going to be getting, a sticker from the teacher, or is he going to be getting a bar, which is definitely, from what I've heard, is not a good thing. And he's also trying to figure out new classroom dynamics with different friends and sitting with different people. So there's a lot of things going on with Donovan in his day. And that's fine. I can use my helping skills. I can listen. And it hasn't really needed anything beyond that until yesterday morning, when we then entered into the situation where actually Donovan's behavior was indicating that he had a problem, but then we were all late for school because he didn't want to go to school, and that then meant that I now also had a problem, and we needed to use some problem solving. So the conflict resolution skills, which one of them is problem solving, to actually work on this, because now it was actually affecting our whole entire morning routine. And because it had been a little bit of a trend, we needed to speak about it sooner rather than later. So we used the problem solving. I spoke to Donovan, and I, got his input from him. I said, Donovan, we're having some issues with the morning, and this morning it meant that we were actually late for school, and then your brother was late. It meant that when I took you in, you were sad, I was sad, I didn't have a happy morning. What can we do so that we can actually have a nice, smooth morning and everyone can be happy and relaxed going into school? And we had a chance to talk a little bit about it, and then he said that he wanted to think about it a bit more. So I said, okay, that's fine. Sleep on it, and then let's see how our morning goes tomorrow. And we can talk about it again tomorrow after school. So he did sleep on it, and this morning he woke up and he wasn't saying anything about not wanting to go to school. And right away, I noticed a difference, that he was just right away brushing his teeth, getting his shoes on, and whatnot. And we actually did the carpool lane with no incident, and it actually went much more smoothly. So what I'm going to do this afternoon is I will really continue on this problem-solving piece, and I will share with Donovan that this morning was much better, and how was it for him. and find out a little bit more from him about how he experienced the morning, and just continue really checking in with him to make sure that we nip any morning routine challenges in the bud sooner rather than later. So understanding what might be happening for each of your children is really the first step to then understanding what is the best response going to be. I've shared with you a couple of situations, or a few situations, each one being different, each child having something different going on, and in each one I've done something slightly differently. So if your child owns a problem, you can use the helping skills. One of the best is listening, simply listening. And Michelle Ickard, in her great book, Middle School Makeover, has a term that she uses, which I love, which is Botox brow. And I love that as a really great clue to be like, you know what, actually, this is not my problem. I don't own this problem. I don't need to judge. I don't need to moralize. Really, if I can just have a Botox brow, I just need to listen. My child has a problem, and I need to listen to that. So I really love that as a clue. And then understanding where maybe sometimes your helping skills may actually need to just progress a little bit more, and that you need to advocate for your child in a certain situation. Or you actually find that you both possibly own a problem, and the routine is not actually going as smoothly for you as you would like it to. Get the kids involved then, speak to them, and ask for their help in helping everyone to meet their needs so that you can have more time spent in the no problem space. So hope you found that useful. Continue on with a great back to school. Wishing you all peaceful mornings and happy afternoons. And I'll be back next week with another back to school themed video in the series. Thank you so much.